Say hello and welcome to Meals with Maria. You say that, Ben? Ho, ho, ho. Yes, welcome to a very special Christmas holiday edition of $0 dinners, pantry meals, whatever you want to call it. I don't know why it's a special edition. It just is coming out in December. And I've got my gear on. Aside from that, the meals aren't like super holiday-y, just to be honest. But they are great things that you can make out of stuff you have in your pantry. I try and give like a lot of different options as far as like trading stuff out. You can always do spices instead of actual things. Like if you don't have onions, you don't have garlic, you can do different pastas. He wanted to be in the video too. The key though is a well-stocked pantry. So if you grab something like a can of beans, grab 2, grab 3, grab an extra because those are cheap anyway. So overall, I hope these are inexpensive meals that you can just swap things in and out depending on what you have in your pantry and get through some of those frozen things in the freezer so that you can put more in and get all the deals. So I don't know, this is just a way of cooking that I like to cook and I feel like it saves money and I hope I can give you some inspiration. All right, these first 2 recipes I'm going to be making in tandem. So I'm going to make a no bean chili as well as some macaroni and cheese. I just feel like chili and mac and cheese go together so well. So this is just me going through my pantry. I pretty much always have some ground beef in my freezer because I like to buy it when it is $1.99 a pound, around $2 a pound, and that's a deal for me. I always have beef bouillon cubes. That way I always have my beef broth. Those particular ones I got at the Dollar Tree, so they are cheap. I also always have tomato paste, so I buy it a lot, but I also want to keep it when I open the can. You can put it in the freezer, and then you can use frozen bits whenever you need to. And here's the stuff that I have for my mac and cheese. Now, don't worry, I'm going to go through everything as I put it in, and I'll make sure to put all the recipes down in the description box as well. I'm just using what I have. I have some with heavy cream. I have some regular milk. Sometimes I just switch out. If I don't have it, I'll just use all cream or all milk. It seems to work. It's always nice too to have those boxes, again, from the Dollar Tree of milk around, just so that you have something. So in this case, I just need to brown up my ground beef. And I think I have, you know, a pound, maybe 1.5 pounds of beef. And that's not a problem when it comes to an all beef chili. I've set aside my spices. I have 1 tablespoon of chili powder, 2 teaspoons of cumin, 2 teaspoons of smoked paprika, and 2 teaspoons of oregano. I'm also going to slice up 1 pepper. Now, if you don't have a fresh pepper on hand, that's totally fine. You could either use jarred peppers. They, again, at the Dollar Tree have jarred red peppers, the roasted kind, or you know what? You don't have pepper, go without. You could add celery, you could add carrots to this. I've done carrots in my chili before. Really anything, any vegetable that you have on hand, you can probably just slice up and add in there. Chili is so versatile, and that's why it's one of my favorite things to do when I'm doing like a pantry cook. Now in this case, I'm also slicing up 1 onion. If you don't have onion, that's totally fine. You can use onion powder as a substitute. I have done that before too. Now in the meantime, I've got a pot of boiling water going and I've added my macaroni for my macaroni and cheese. I had about 1 pound, but really go with what you have. You don't have to use that perfect macaroni shape. I've done bow ties before. The kids love that. Use what you have, mix and match. That's the great thing about a pasta dish. Now, because I had a big block of cheddar cheese, I have to grate this up, which is totally fine. I do prefer the grated cheese. I also see that it melts better too. Like a lot of times the packages of cheese from the store, they do have some sort of like powder on them to keep the cheese from sticking together. And I do find that, I don't know, I don't like the way it melts as much. But again, whatever you have is fine. So here I have cooked up my onions and peppers just in about 1 tablespoon of olive oil. And I'm adding in 2 teaspoons of minced garlic. Again, if you don't have fresh garlic, go ahead, go with garlic powder. It will taste delicious. It will be absolutely fine. And then all my spices, you just want to mix that into your peppers and your onions and get everything kind of fragrant and cook that for about 1 minute. Then stir in 2 tablespoons of tomato paste. Once well mixed, add a cup of the beef broth. Now, if you have regular broth, go for it. If you have bouillon, go for it. If you don't, water and some salt will do as well.
Now the recipe calls for fire roasted tomatoes, but I just had regular diced tomatoes, so I added a can of those in, as well as 1 cup of tomato sauce that I already had from the fridge. Now we're just going to add back the ground cooked beef and bring it to a gentle boil over medium-high heat. At that point, you want to turn your temperature down, cover, and simmer for 30 minutes. Now while that's cooking, I'm going to get the cheese sauce for my macaroni and cheese started. I am melting down a 1/4 cup of butter over medium-high heat. Once melted, add a 1/4 cup of flour and whisk for about 2 minutes until thick. Mixture, I'm adding a 1/2 teaspoon of dry mustard powder, 1 teaspoon of onion powder, and salt and pepper. Just mix that around, and now we're going to add in slowly 1.5 cups of milk and 1 cup of cream. Just want to stir this over medium heat until thickened. Once thickened appropriately, remove the pot from the heat. And now we're going to add in 3 cups of cheddar cheese, a 1/2 cup of Parmesan cheese, and a can of cheddar cheese soup. Now the soup is 100% optional. The Parmesan I feel like also could be a little bit optional, depends on what you have. I feel like you can make this your own. So depending on what cheeses you have around your house, grab what you have and throw it in, thicken it up, mix it up. It's going to be delicious because it's cheese and milk, and you really can't go wrong with that. Once everything's mixed together, add it to a casserole dish and then top that with 1 cup of cheddar cheese or whatever you have remaining. I think you could probably put some Ritz crumbs over the top too if you want. That wasn't in my recipe and I didn't have any, but if you have some crackers on hand, go ahead and add those. I'm going to pop that macaroni and cheese in the oven at 425 degrees for about 20 minutes. Here you can see that my chili was all done and my mac and cheese was bubbling. Once that chili cooks for that ½ hour, you do want to cook it for another 10 minutes with the top off. This is the beautiful chili with all the toppings we had from the fridge. Again, whatever you have. We had some avocado. You could put some sriracha on that, some fresh cilantro. Here's the mac and cheese. Huge winning meal for us. Now the next meal is a Mexican quinoa skillet, and this was a huge hit for my family. I've made things like this before, but something about this particular recipe they absolutely loved. So I just peeled up 2 sweet potatoes. The recipe says 1 large, so you know, whatever you have. I tend to have potatoes or sweet potatoes around. And then I'm using 1 red onion. The recipe calls for a yellow onion. I happen to have red. I think it would taste fine in this. Again, if you don't have any onions, go ahead and use onion powder. If you have scallions, you could use that. I even think you could use leeks. So whatever you have around, whatever you have on hand, and in a pinch, use that onion powder. Now my baby just woke up from a nap, so if you hear him in the background all grunty and whatnot, he had COVID. We all had COVID actually. We're all recovered and all fine, but he's just really stiffly still, so that's him grunting away, just being a baby. I'm gonna take your chopped up sweet potato and add that to a skillet with about a ½ cup of water over high heat and bring that to a boil, and basically your water will have evaporated for about 3 minutes. Add in a tablespoon of oil and then add your onion, and then you want to cook that for about another 3 minutes over medium-high heat. Stir in your spices, 1 tablespoon of minced garlic, a teaspoon of coriander, a teaspoon of cumin, a ½ teaspoon of oregano, and a ½ teaspoon of chili powder. Now I poured in a drained can of black beans. You could use pinto beans. Then I'm using what's left of a can of tomato sauce, about 1 cup, and about 1 cup of, I think that was canned corn. I think the recipe might have called for frozen, but these are great things just to keep on hand in the pantry. Beans, corn, sauce, and then 1 cup of quinoa and 1 1/4 cups of broth. Now I'm using chicken bouillon and chicken broth. You can use whatever you have, and in a pinch, use the water and the salt. I'm just adding a little bit of salt We're gonna bring this to a boil and then cover and cook for about 20 minutes over medium heat until the quinoa is tender. Now these are the things that I had in my fridge. I had some dollar store jalapeno slices. I had a avocado. I had some cheddar cheese, some cilantro and sour cream. Get some spicy hot sauce. Whatever you have, go ahead and use it as a topping for this because it's going to taste delicious. You just got to use what you have on hand. This is one of my favorite type of pantry meals because all these things you really can switch in and out, and you really should have them on hand. Like if you're buying a can of sauce, buy an extra can of sauce just so that you have it. This is a great, easy weeknight meal that comes together so quickly, and it's super healthy. Now the next meal is an Instant Pot beef stew. And like I said, I like to keep ground beef on hand. I also like to keep stew beef on hand. Like if I find it on sale, like that particular package, put it in the freezer and then make it when I have time. With this particular meal, I had some carrots on hand. Again, if you have celery, potatoes, whatever you got. And then I had some couple sweet potatoes and one regular potato and some bone broth. Use the bouillon if you have it, or you could use chicken broth if you really had to. We can make this happen with what you have. So the first step is putting the beef in the Instant Pot on saute. Once your beef is seared on all sides, add in 2 1/4 cups of beef broth. They're going to kind of mix that around and add in a teaspoon of Italian seasoning, as well as a teaspoon of salt and pepper. Mix that up real well and add in 2 tablespoons of Worcestershire sauce and 3 cloves of minced garlic. With 1 10-ounce can of tomato sauce. I'm adding in those carrots, some diced up potatoes. I did end up not using the regular potato because it was a little green, and someone had mentioned something about green potatoes in one of my last videos, and I was shocked to find out that the green potatoes are toxic. So if you see your potato is a little green, you can technically, I guess, peel it off, but it seems still like it's a little dangerous. And I found a red onion, so I diced that up and put that in there too. If you didn't have an onion, go ahead and add some onion powder. Cook on high pressure for 35 minutes and then natural release for 10 minutes. Now, as with everything I cook in the Instant Pot, this was absolutely delicious. Like, this is something I just threw together. I was like, okay, I have stew meat. What do I have in my refrigerator? What can I make work? And I switched some things out. I have no hesitation to make a beef stew with some sweet potatoes versus regular potatoes, and hey, red onions, they work too. And for some reason, I swear by this Instant Pot. Every time when you make something here, the flavors are amazing. So if you don't have one and you want one, it's a great thing to put on your Christmas list because it is worth it. It makes the family very happy.
Okay, do it on me again.
I know. Whoa!
Are
you gonna eat all your dinner tonight?
No.
So the next thing I'm gonna make is some breakfast sandwiches. Rummaging through my freezer, I'm like, what do I have in here? I need to get rid of some stuff. I need room to put Christmas cookies. So I found this alfresco maple sausage that I had bought on 50% off, put in the freezer and forgotten about. So let's make some breakfast sandwiches. I'm just cooking up 4 fried eggs here. When I'm doing breakfast sandwiches, I like to cook them all the way through so that there's no runny egg. I mean, that is delicious, but it's not good on the run. And I sliced up some cheese that I found in the fridge. We've got, I think that's like a wine infused cheddar. It's still good, still tastes delicious on a breakfast sandwich. Use what you have. So I've got my eggs cooking and cooked all the way through, and then we're just putting this together, and I know for a fact I'm holding a baby while I'm doing this. So I think I was using like one hand and just like trying to put it together. So I cooked up the breakfast sausages, put them on there with the eggs and the cheese, and I did not melt the cheese yet because we're gonna toss these into the air fryer in the mornings in order to have them as a breakfast. But I did have one on this particular day too, and it was just so good. It's so nice to have breakfast sandwiches ready ahead of time. So I recommend, you know, buy that bacon on sale, buy that breakfast sausage on sale, put it in the freezer, and make ahead breakfast sandwiches when you have the time. I rarely do this, but I feel like I'm gonna go no voiceover for this portion because we have a Mexican pizza coming up, and just went through the cabinets. This is an amazing, like, mishmash, throw everything together, like, use what you have kind of meal. So I have some leftover flour tortillas. I always keep these on hand. Like I get them at the Dollar Tree. These ones specifically are from Aldi, but whatever you have, like get some tortillas, make sure you always have them. I keep them in the fridge and they last forever. And so yeah, Dollar Tree sells like 12 pack for $1. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna take this and we're gonna put refried beans, again, super cheap. And I had those in my cabinet. So if you have refried beans and you have tortillas and you have cheese, you're pretty much good. The recipe that I have, and I'll put down in the description box, calls for ground beef. I don't have ground beef, whatever, we're gonna do vegetarian style. Like refried beans should be just fine. So we're gonna put some tortillas, a tortilla down. We're gonna put refried beans in the middle. And then I'm gonna shred this cheese up. I'm gonna put that over the top. Now probably on Dan's and probably on mine, I'm gonna put this chipotle salsa because this is what I found in my cabinet, but it's hot and the kids are not gonna be down with that. So I'm not gonna put any salsa on theirs. And then I'm gonna slice up just what I have, the rest of these tomatoes, put that on top of the cheese. And then jalapeno slices, that can go on ours if I want. I might even put these on the side. Scallions, I'll put these over at the end. I'm gonna slice up some of this avocado and put this in a little bowl so that you can sprinkle it over your pizza. Same thing with what's left of this cilantro here. I'm just gonna slice it up, put it in a little bowl, and then you can sprinkle it over the top. And I have some sour cream too. So a lot of this stuff is like, okay, I found this. I'm using scallions, but you could totally use like red onion if you wanna slice that up. If you have mild salsa, I wish I did, like silly that I don't. It's on my list. I need to have that in the closet at all times, and it's cheap too. But make it your own. And yeah, if you have meat, put it in there. You could even use, like if you had like pulled pork left over or some barbacoa. Like a lot of times I'll make like a roast and put it in the freezer, and then I have this leftover like shredded meat. That would go great in a Mexican pizza like this. So let's make them up.
Last year I thought about how things can come around just like that if everyone is here to celebrate one day. We have our ups and downs, but when there's love there's always a way. And oh, this time of year we come together to celebrate. Yes, every time the snow is falling down and it is cold outside, we gather around the fireplace and no one cares about yesterday. My favorite holiday, it means so much more than words can say. And I claim that Christmas is a magic day. Sometimes I tend to forget what glory this holiday represents.
I just want to thank you guys so much for watching this video today. Please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already. I make videos like this, lots of budget-friendly stuff. I do grocery hauls, extreme grocery budget challenges, and I have other videos that are pantry challenges. So I'll make sure to put those down below in the description box, and I'll also put it as a card at the end so you can just click right in to another $0 dinners. Thank you again so much for watching, and I'll see you guys all very soon.
We come together to celebrate. Yes, every time the snow is falling down and it is cold outside, we gather around the fireplace and no one cares about yesterday. My favorite holiday, it means so much more than words can say. And I claim that Christmas is a magic day. Sometimes I tend to forget what glory this holiday. I've been waiting all my life for someone like you, like you. I would watch the days go by, wasted and blue. I was out of use.